I don't want to use specifics, but take a group, it forms a category. There's one object in the category. It's the stupidest thing in the world, so this is a category. Objects of G is equal to one object. And morphisms go from that one object. They come and go from that one object. So if you have a morphism here and you have a morphism here, F and G, they start and finish and go to the same place, then you can compose F and G, and you get F compose G. You can also compose it the other way, G compose F. Okay. A group can be looked at as one object. Where the morphisms are invertible, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, great. Now, I want to look at a functor like this to this. It's a functor that takes a group and outputs a pattern. It takes that's this strange category with one object, and the output is a vector space. Okay, so this single object goes to a vector space, V. And every one of these maps takes this vector space and comes and goes to this vector space. Okay? This is called a group representation. They show up all over in physics. Okay, so you have a lot of connections with physics. Sorry, I want to do one more logic. You know what? It's enough. Anyways, so let me just sum up. So I wrote this book, okay, and it has a lot of different topics. It starts from nothing. It starts from set theory. It tells you what a group is. It tells you what a vector space is, et cetera, et cetera. And the first 50 pages of this book is on my webpage. You're welcome to all look at it, et cetera, et cetera. You're also welcome to buy the book. It's coming out by MIT Press in about a year. In the book, I have mini courses. One of the mini courses I had was theoretical computer science. So I did a lot of theoretical computer science in terms of this category theory, where we talk about propositions and proofs and processes. If you talk about it from that point of view, you're able to get Turing machines and discussions of all that type of stuff. And that's a book that came out that came out 2 years ago. And it's called The Theoretical Computer Science for the Working Categories. But you got to know category theory before you know that. Anyways, any questions, any unhappiness, any discussion? Go.
So how can you use category theory to say something about algebra? Well, are there any theorems of algebra that you can come up with from the direction of category theory as opposed to going from algebra?
Okay, so there's a whole thing called functorial semantics. Functorial, from the word functor, semantics. Is a categorical way of describing different algebraic structures, and you have a whole way of talking about algebra just from the category point of view, and it's different than other ways of doing it. I don't know what type of algebra you're into, but there's a whole field of that. Chapter 8 of course. Okay. So you'll look at functorial semantics. From the word functor semantics. And it's just a beautiful way of describing structures using category. Look, there's three ways of talking about algebraic structures. One is model theory, which is something that logicians talk about. There's one called universal algebra, and then there's functorial semantics, which is category theory. Each one has their own better way. More questions, go.
How is this applicable to databases?
Okay, perfect. So I have a section here called databasing and schedules. Okay, namely, I can make a category that describes a database, kind of like that processes and types. It's kind of very similar to that, right? So what's a database? Well, it's going to have different pieces of information of certain types. So you have a database. What's a database? It's a lot of different pieces of information of different types. So you can have strings, you can have names, you can have phone numbers, you can have how much they bought this thing, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, great. So every database will be described by a certain small category of types, okay? And then you're going to have functors that correspond to that. But the amazing thing is you're going to have these types, these shapes of databases. You're going to have functors between them. That shows how databases change from one to the other. Okay? So for example, you might have a database, he might have a database, your companies are talking to each other, and NetSuite, whatever, you want your database to be able to communicate with his database and match up your types with his types so that the information doesn't get lost. And that can all be done from an abstract point of view of category. It's quite nice, it's quite useful. There's an entire book called Category Theory for the Sciences by a guy named David Spivak, MIT Press. And his central focus is this communicating database information using categories and functors.
So if you have things like sets of sets, how do you avoid these paradoxes when you talk about
So
sets?
Right, so it's avoided. Okay? You can talk about different universes of categories and things like that, but the point is, you only get in trouble with sets and sets if you talk about logic of sets and sets. In other words, you want all those, you get in trouble by talking about this collection of all sets that don't contain themselves. Well, we're not talking about that, we're just talking about the collection of sets and maps between them. And there are different ways to do it. More questions? Anyways, thank you for listening. Again, you're welcome. The first 50 pages of the book are there. That's a great place to start. If you have any comments, criticisms, email me, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so just, before you all go, just